So let's talk about your Oscar nomination. You've had a lot of them. Is it still a thrill to hear your name?
Absolutely. It's it's now 53 Oscar nominations, which seems unreal that anybody could be that old and working that long. But I think it's like baseball. Every time you get in the game, you want to win the game. So if you're nominated, it's very exciting. Even after 53 years, I'm very pleased. I think it's a human thing, the gratification of any kind of appreciation of one's work.
So 53 nominations.
Right.
I think you've won 5 for your scores.
Yes.
I think most people would think you would have won more because your music is so familiar.
Well, my wife thinks I should have won more. And someone asked her, Samantha, why do you always wear black dresses to the Oscar? And she says, because we lose every year. So you could say I've had 53 nominations, but how many losses is that? 48 or so? But it couldn't be more wonderful. I couldn't be happier about the recognition from the music branch of the Academy through the years, who are friends, but I don't know many of them. But it's a recognition from one's peers, one's colleagues that is always very gratifying.
I think everybody knows about your collaboration with Steven Spielberg. This particular film, though, The Fabelmans, is very near and dear to Mr. Spielberg. It's loosely based on his story. Did that present a challenge to you as you began to score the film?
Well, every film is a challenge, of course. One has to search for what should the film sound like as well as look like. This is a particular interesting challenge. It's Steven being so frank, so unguarded about his family and his life as a youngster and the difficulties he had and the successes he had. It also strikes me to say that I imagine that the great number of children suffer greatly from divorce from parents. It may be some that are relieved of a great tense situation. But for Steven, that was a deep wound, I think it's fair to say. And I sense it very much because I knew his father, Arnold, and his mother, Leah, quite well through the years.
His mother was a musician.
And his mother was quite a good pianist. And coming to Fabelmans, she played a lot of piano in the film. And she played Beethoven and some Bach and some Satie and Clementi and so on, other things, plus what I've written for her in the background, which suggested piano. But she wanted to have a career as a concert pianist and said she had 4 children, which is a very familiar story to probably millions of women. And so I felt that I was telling their story along with Steven in a very kind of close to the vest way.
Was it important that you honored that relationship as you wrote this?
I hope so. I certainly hope it. There's very little music, actually. Many of Steven's movies have music from beginning to end, 2 hours plus of orchestra playing constantly. We looked at this film together and decided that, because of her playing the piano in various scenes throughout the film, that the sound of an orchestral score given so much piano would seem wrong. And it seemed that our score should be very lean, very simple, very touching if possible, and not compete with his processes of making movies. What it does show, maybe not to go in too deeply into it, but when he was particularly in high school and making his Western films and his adventure films and so on, that he always would put a needle on a disc and have the music support the film completely because we didn't have dialogue. Mm-hmm. And that has become Steven's kind of lifetime approach to film music. He can't get enough of it. There are many directors who, if you have to accompany every scene with music, they feel that they failed, that the actors should be able to accomplish the emotional levels of things and so on. But he's a lover of film music. And when I met him, he was young, 23 years old, and he knew more about film music than I did. He could remember subordinate themes in films that I had scored that I'd already forgotten.
So what's your process? At this point, are you guys almost nonverbal in your collaboration?
I think so. You know, we talk, of course, and moan at each other, whatever. how to describe it, but it is the most wonderful working relationship, I guess. I was thinking of the length of our collaboration, which is 50 years. And if you think about theater, for example, Gilbert and Sullivan, I had to look up, and they worked together 25 years and produced 14 operettas. So I think in the history of the theater, as far as I know, there isn't a collaboration in length that can match that.
So you are nominated for this film, and you've become the oldest Oscar nominee for competitive Oscar. What is that like to hear that said out loud?
Oh, I'll tell you, being 90 or 91 is something I recommend strongly. I do think I think we all, if we can reach 90 and be fairly well, we all kind of celebrate that I made it, and that kind of mentality about it. And I once looked up Cicero's essay on old age, in which he starts out very ironically, and he says, old age is something that we all aspire to our entire lives. And when we achieve it, we do nothing but complain about how hard it is. I think to be anything at 90 or 91 is a blessing.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.